What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of SSPN Live. Jude here, Ethan's back, and we're here to give you your All-Star break episode. Um, we're finally here. I know we had the dunk contest, we had all that stuff. Ethan, what are your thoughts on All-Star Weekend since that happened last night?
Mac McClung was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Murphy, I thought, had an underrated dunk in there. I feel like everybody did pretty good. Honestly, Jericho Sims had that crazy two arms in the honeydew, the
Yeah, yeah.
classic. He got really up high. Um, I didn't like the All Star game itself. That was the most boring game of my life. I
I
literally turned it off at
agree,
halftime. Like, this is ridiculous. Like it's
dog.
just a layup line.
I was
Um,
watching the XFL instead. I'm not gonna lie.
I just went to
That's where we were at.
It was awful. I mean, I didn't get to watch the Rising Stars game, unfortunately. I was out with people, but I got to watch the highlights. Jeremy had a couple cool dunks. I think he only
Mm-hmm.
had the 6 points, but him and Josh Giddey had some fun plays. And Jeremy always being Jeremy, personality was showing off in press conferences and made an impact with some guys around the league. So that was cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you on the All-Star game, man. I feel like since the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine dunk contest, we really haven't seen Aaron Gordon isn't a star player, but like Zach's a star now for the Bulls, but still like
Mm.
we don't see that even like Aaron Gordon caliber of players. I guess you could say Trey Murphy's kind of that, but we don't even really see like those type of guys anymore since that All-Star weekend in general. Like I feel like it's just become like now I just watch it on YouTube. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I'd
for
rather
sure.
just watch all the highlights, like get all the good stuff instead of all the hoopla when I could, especially now that we got the XFL back. I know I'm just a football nerd for that, but I was just like, man, I could throw this on right now and at least they're trying. Like,
Yeah.
I can watch Ben DiNucci and Josh Gordon. That was pretty
Ooh,
funny.
Josh Gordon. I
He's
haven't heard that
back,
name in
baby.
so
He's
long.
back. Yeah.
Getting an
Anyways.
MVP.
Yeah, that's for sure. But let's talk about the Spurs. I know we haven't got to catch up since really the end of the trade deadline, just talking a little bit about some of the new additions and stuff. I know we haven't seen Kem Birch or Burke. We'll figure out how to pronounce it once he plays.
Yeah.
But we have got to see Devonte Graham. Kind of just want to start off with that. What are your thoughts on what you've seen so far from Devonte? In I think 3 games as a Spur,
Yeah,
somewhere
he
around
came
there.
out super explosive, obviously, with that 31-point game against the Pistons. I know we lost, but I think he's come back down to earth a little bit. Still impressed with what he brings to the team. He's a scorer. He's only 6'2", but he's really like a combo guard. He can play make from time to time. I think New Orleans fans were a little upset with us in the comments in one of our other videos
Really?
for saying that it was like a 1-for-1. Clearly, he has deficiencies, right? Like he was struggling to shoot with New Orleans, and he's kind of been on a downturn in his career. But the same could be said for Jay Rich before we got him, and we kind of
Right.
turned him around, and he became a very quality kind of six-man spark off the bench, much better
What
playmaker.
Sorry, don't mean to
You know,
interrupt you, but what he was for us, just to your point, was what Boston wanted him to be. Like,
exactly, yeah. And he was able to kind of turn around his career in San Antonio. So I'm hoping to get the same thing out of Devontae. I think that right now he kind of has that green light to just shoot whatever he wants,
hmm
and so maybe that's why occasionally he can get a little inefficient. But at this point, I'm fine with that. Now we have Devin coming back. I'm sure he'll kind of have those reins pulled. But at this point in our Spurs season, this is what we needed was just a backup guard, right? Blake is still kind
backup
of
point guard
learning,
too.
and yeah, point guard. Blake is still kind of learning. Obviously, you want him to get meaningful minutes. I think he still will. But it's nice to have that veteran piece still on the team.
Yeah, I just pulled up his stats. So he has 4 games actually. I was a little off there. And other than the first 30-point game where he just went bananas and was
Mhm.
probably just told him go out there shoot as much as you want.
Yeah.
The interesting thing for me, and I still want to. I remember our man Keith Young's comment, and he was talking about how he was bad defensively, and for the most part, like that's true. But I
Yeah.
want to say that in every other game other than the 30-point game where he was mainly scoring, he's had at least a steal. And in 2 out of the 3, he had 2 steals. And I remember specifically like remembering those while I was watching him. They had 2 steals against Atlanta and 2 steals against Cleveland. I didn't watch the Atlanta game, but I do remember the Cleveland game specifically. But it's just good to see that like even though for his defensive efficiencies, he has some pretty good vision in some passing lanes, and he can pickpocket some guys. That's what I noticed too, like while watching him, specifically in that Cleveland game and in the Charlotte game too, where he got one. Um,
Mhm.
So at least it's, there's that positive on defense. Give him
Yeah,
credit there.
I mean, he fills a hole where we have a need,
He's
and
gonna get beat most times, but
yeah,
he'll get you some steals.
I'm not expecting him to turn this team around, but I think he definitely like fills a gap and can teach Trey and Blake some things while kind of helping Pop in this young guy evolution that we're
Shoot,
turning
man,
ourselves into.
Trey's probably about to teach him some things.
Honestly, yeah. Now that I say that, Trey's another, yeah.
But
Trey's
I get what you're saying though. Like he's a veteran point. Like before, it was literally Trey and Blake, and we
yeah.
saw how that went with all the injuries. So he is a combo guard, like you said. Like he can play off ball for sure. But with how well Malachi's been playing off the bench, which was the
Yes.
next thing I wanted to get into, and with his playmaking ability, that's a really solid backcourt off the bench. I mean, obviously, look, it's not a competitive backcourt off the bench.
No.
That's not what I'm trying to say. But that can allow with Malachi's playmaking, that can allow us to use Devontae, on some floppies, running them off screens, whatever it may be.
For sure. Malachi's been on a tear, dude. What was he averaging? 17 and a half or something like that in the month of February?
Well, it's gone a little bit down, but it's still like he's going into the All-Star break. I want to say he was at like 14.8 points in the month of February, which is second to only Paolo Banchero. So second to the number one pick in scoring as a rookie in February.
He has clearly kind of turned it up to another level. He definitely was not at this point at the beginning of the year. So it's crazy how quickly he's improved, and it's weird how he and Sohan have kind of improved simultaneously.
Yeah.
Like that's next level. Like I'm so excited to see what he's able to do.
Yeah, and that's kind of where in this dormant season record-wise, and where you see Blake Wesley, taking a little bit longer than those guys, and a lot of times this season we've kind of focused in on that, or even other guys, just their struggles, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's nice to like reinforce, like, hey, just trust in the development team because, and we talked about that earlier, and while. For Blake, I would say that it hasn't came along as well as it has for these guys with more reps. It takes time. And that's another thing that we've talked about before, that just because of the nature of this season and it being like a completely different space than even last year, like I'm losing my train of thought mid-sentence here, Ethan.
You're good. You're good.
But
Push.
we're
Just
trying
keep
to
talking.
remember. I'm blanking. What was I talking about? I can't believe
I
this.
think you were getting to, with all the negatives surrounding the season, it's great to finally see some improvement. It's like a silver lining, especially with Malachi.
And with the stagnancy of Blake, like you can trust in it more
Yes.
because of the way that Jeremy and Malachi have developed. And what I was getting to, I did remember it now, is that like beforehand, Keldon and Devin, like we didn't even see them year one. We didn't see Lonnie year one. We didn't see any of these guys year one, and they probably weren't ready to play. Like
Yeah.
we really didn't see them until year two. So like it's we're kind of looking at Blake through a critical lens, if that makes, especially and also ties into with the way that Sohan and Malachi developed, but also they've had more reps. But just talking about Malachi a little bit, I mean his scoring, the playmaking, and defensively, I've seen some improvements as well too. I think really a lot of this stuff is just when he puts on some more muscle, like that's going to make him more of an imposing force driving to the rim, and he showed his finishing ability. I feel like that's something that's continued to develop, attacking, and he's like I said, when he gets some more muscle on him, that's going to help there too. Obviously, we already knew he's great coming off screens, hitting jumpers at the elbow. We know he can catch and shoot from the three-point land basically anywhere. So I'm just really excited for him. All that I can think of right now, Ethan, is just remember how long he was like the number one best available during the draft, like on Jay Bilas's draft board. That's what I'm thinking about while we're talking about this. And when it comes to his development, it's just like, you couple all the things, like he went to LeBron James's high school. He's the only other person to really come out of there. And instead of, like LeBron would have gone to Ohio State. I'm not saying he's LeBron. This is not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But the point is there's a lot of there's just a lot of good to see there. You have that high school. Ohio State is a solid program.
He's got prestige.
Right. He's got all the check marks that you want. And I guess like the only thing I would say for Malachi, like going into this offseason, it's just defense and then strength and conditioning. Like, I'm sure there's some more stuff that like Pop would really criticize. But when for me as just a watcher and us doing this show, it's like when I look at him big picture going into the offseason and just the rest of the year, that's what I'm looking at because he's going to miss execution on offense. That's going to happen just as a rookie. He's going to miss shots. There's going to be some turnovers here and there. But I mean, the turnovers have significantly decreased as the season has gone
Hmm.
on, and he's just been better at executing as the season has gone on. And this is all just a big way of saying that this is just a testament to like the Spurs development staff still got it.
Hmm. Two things about Malachi. What's crazy about this turnaround is one, it really kind of stems from one game. Like I know there's like methodical improvements, throughout the season that you can kind of catch, not putting his hand in a certain place
Right.
or pulling up when he would have driven otherwise. But like he had one game where he had 17 points, and then from that point on, he really
Bro,
just
this
kind of
game
started
log.
forcing his will on the game. He wasn't letting the game come to him anymore. He was like, "Okay, give me the ball. I'm coming into the game to score. Like that is my role now. I'm going to try and implore my will on this game." And he completely turned everything around. And it's kind of like a mental switch that he just flipped, and now all of a sudden he's probably our second or third best scorer right now. I mean, Devin's
Yeah.
coming back obviously, but that's pretty impressive. And what's even crazier is I didn't watch him live when he played at Ohio State, but the whole
Mm-hmm.
story around him, coming up to the draft was this guy was like okay at the first half of the season, and then he
Yes.
just
You're
exploded.
reminding me of this. Yeah. Yeah.
And
At
I was,
the end
it's
of the
it's just
year,
happening again.
he became a 20-point scorer. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's literally what happened. And one Big Ten freshman of the year. Right. Yeah, and was a combo guard too. Was distributing. It's like he got his
Hmm.
feel for it, and then was really adaptive. And it's just like, yeah. I mean, when you combine the fact that like not really any other like big time prospects other than LeBron have came from like where he went to school, and I know it is a
Hmm.
private school, but like still like there's some rough areas in Ohio for sure. I mean, even y'all know I'm an LSU fan. Joey B talked about it in his Heisman speech in 2019. So he's definitely seems like someone who can adapt, and that's probably has a lot to do with his environment where he came
Hmm.
from. So shout out to Malachi, man. Love to see it. Just to put this in more perspective, Ethan, you were talking about, you said the first game might have been 17 points around there. It's the start of February. Had a 22-point game against the Kings. Shot 9 for 13, 3 for 5 from 3, had 5 assists in that game too, and since then he's been on a tear. He had one 4-point game in the Toronto game where he still took 8 shots, just they didn't go down. He had 5 boards in that game, 3 assists with a block too. But other than that, I mean, and then the Atlanta game, he shot 4 for 15 and only had 10 points, but he also found a way to get 6 boards there. So even in like, and it's weird like to see Malachi getting those
Yeah.
amount of boards. That wasn't happening, early in the season. But other than that, his lowest scoring game has been 15, and that was against the Bulls. Every other, you had 22, 26, 27, 18, and 23. Other than that.
He just kind of found his way. I'm the most interesting part of this now is Devin's coming back. Is
Hmm.
he going to continue to play at this aggressive level? How are we going to because we kind of found a rhythm. I know we're still losing, but we're finally kind of finding a rhythm without Devin
Right.
playing. And now everyone's going to pretty much come back, I think. I mean, Romeo, maybe not. I don't know where he's at. But I wonder how the team's going to adjust to that and if it's going to be a completely, like we're starting from scratch all over again.
Right. I know, because it feels like we've gone through that a couple times this year
Hmm.
because of
Yeah.
the injuries. I guess what I would say with Malachi is because he's kind of been coming. Well, he actually has had some more starts recently, but
Yeah.
he's for the most part this season, even in the positive development, like he's been coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
during this stretch, he's had more opportunities, so that's where I feel like he's going to translate. But I'm glad that you said that because I think that's just a reminder to everybody that once again, there's probably going to be a little bit, even though we're going to have more talent than we have had for like the past 2 months, there's going to be a little bit of growing pains. And then we'll probably have a nice little win streak in like, I don't know, hopefully March.
Yeah. Plus the loss of Jakob Pertl and Josh
Right.
Richardson.
Right.
So we're definitely going to see their impact.
Yeah, and that was another thing that I wanted to talk about. And in this thumbnail, we had Devin on there, and we also had Charles Bassey, who
Mm.
just got that 4-year deal. He's a part of our future. We were kind of talking about it. We were talking about with what he was shown in the G League. It really felt like it. That deal solidified it. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're gonna get Ken Berkman at Ethan, but I think it's probably gonna be Zach and Charles with that contract signing. What are you most excited about for Charles?
I'm just excited to see if his mentality stays the same. Because in the G League, he is Shaq. Like he demands the ball in the post.
Except
He
he
gets
can shoot.
put-back dunks. He gets rebounds. Yeah, he gets pull-up jumpers, fadeaways, spot up three. Like he can do everything in the G League, and we've seen that before. Obviously, the Spurs are expecting it to translate because they gave him a 4-year deal. That really hasn't happened in the past with some of the guys that have dominated in the G League, i.e., Luka Samanic,
Right.
Drew Eubanks. The names go on and on. So I just want to know because Zach Collins is getting more touches in the post. So are we going to kind of continue that trend? But with Bassie now coming in, I'm assuming off the bench, is he going to continue to play at that high level? Or is the speed and strength of the NBA going to kind of take its toll on him? How long will that take for him to get over that hump? There's so many questions about it, but I'm excited because he has a 4-year deal. So clearly
Yeah.
we see something, and in the future we think that he's going to be a capable big.
Yeah. And just 22 years old. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
he's basically a rookie. We got to think
right.
of him like a rookie that spent 3 or 4 years in college, and now
Right.
he's ready for the NBA.
Yep. Yep. I'm super excited about it. I think that there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. We kind of saw that in the last game. And the reason why is if you remember when he came back in and broke the record and was just being a monster, Pop said it in the press conference. He's like, he doesn't know what he's doing right now. We just told him to go in there and play hard
Yeah,
because Jakob's hurt and we need somebody in the rotation.
the
You know
Eubank
what I,
strategy.
right. But now I think after being in Austin, he has a better understanding of the system, and obviously he's still gonna have to learn some more things. Just being a rotation player, because I'm sure there's differences from Austin to San Antonio as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, like I said, it's going to be a little bit of a slow start because of the fact that he like actually knows the schemes now. So he's like going to be trying to follow that more. So I think there's going to be a little bit of mix-ups, just getting the chemistry down with all of those guys. Before he was like disregard the scheme, just go play. Where now it's going to be like, we want you to use all the tools we know you have, but also now we want you to use it like within our system.
Yeah,
So I think there's just going to be, like you said, with reintegrating everybody, it's kind of going to be like a new start again. But hopefully we could get some win. Maybe we could. It would be nice if the first game back we got a win anyway. But I
yeah,
don't know. The main thing for me is Devin. That's the
yeah.
thing where I think he can win us some games. Like that's going to be where, and I don't think that I don't want him to win too many. Don't get it twisted. But I think that I just find it hard to believe that when he comes back that the losing streak is just going to continue the way it is, because there's so many of those
Yeah.
games where it's like, and I know that it's not as simple as this, but like he's going to have 15 or 20. Like there's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
If you don't take into account chemistry and reintegrating everybody into different roles and all those little facets that go into playing basketball, just look at it like a video game. Like
Right.
Devin was out, Keldon was out for a little bit. When the season started, it was just those two really, and
Hmm.
Jakob like off and on. Devin goes out, Keldon goes out. Jakob gets a little worse as far as productivity impacting wins. Jay Rich is just, Jay Rich. So we lose those two guys, but everyone else improved. Trey improved as an offensive and a defensive player and a shooter. We talked about Jeremy Sohan's emergence as a scorer. Obviously, Malachi Branham. We have
Hmm.
Devontae Graham now. Zach Collins is a completely different player. So just on paper, it's super exciting to think about because now everybody's healthy. Devin's a 20 points per game guy, maybe even more. Keldon's also that. So just put the numbers together. We should hopefully get some more wins or at least have some prettier competitive games. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the thing is we're still going to give up a bunch of points, but
Yes.
we might be able to outscore some people some nights. And also
Maybe.
Devin's going to help get a couple more stops too.
He's going to be
Cause
the bucket getter when it's down the stretch. When we struggle down the stretch, just when they were like winning and then they make a comeback and
remember
now
the
nobody can
Jazz
get a
game? You
bucket.
were at that Jazz game, right?
Yeah.
Where he
Yeah, I
took
was.
over. Dude,
Mm-hmm.
that was so nuts.
Had the double behind the back, take it to the rim.
Exactly. On
We
Laurie
we need
too.
that. Yeah, we're missing that
Like
right
an
now.
all-star. Anyways.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an all-star.
Well, the next thing that I kind of wanted to get into that ties into all of this is just like the rotations. Just talk about, kind of what our guesses will be, under the assumption that everybody's fully healthy. And, the first thing, I know this is crazy, but the first thing, or it seems weird that this is the first thing that popped out to me. But when I was thinking of this, Ethan, the first thing that popped into my mind was, man, Romeo hurt, Romeo like damn near carved himself like a spot in the rotation. and then he
Hmm.
got hurt again, and Malachi went crazy, and now he's
Yeah.
probably like he's gonna be out of the rotation again. And I feel bad for him because he's like he's been one of the better on-ball defenders on the team throughout the year, at least on the perimeter. And but it's just it's the story of Romeo Langford, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's a toss up really between who's going to get minutes, Romeo or KBD, because you could technically move Doug to the backup four, have Romeo at the backup three with Malachi and Devonte at the one, or possibly Blake. Right? Am I thinking correctly, or am I missing somebody? Ooh, am I lagging out, or are you?
You cut out a little bit there, but now we got your connection back. Like as soon as you finish your thought, now you're back clear. So you
Okay,
could just
okay.
say the whole thing again.
All right, bro. I lost you too for a second there. So
Okay,
I was saying,
it might have been on my end then. I don't know, but we're back.
I have no idea. I said it's a toss up between who gets minutes between Romeo and KBD, honestly, because I don't know who Pop would choose because they both have kind of
KBD.
similar roles. Really, you think so?
He's been playing. And he's
Yeah.
been with the team longer. And also, like, we're gonna play Devonte and Malachi. What I think in the backcourt is we're gonna play off the bench. We're gonna like we were talking about earlier. We're gonna play Devonte and Malachi.
Hmm.
And then here, I'm forgetting some of the roster. So let me. We
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 got Roby
haven't.
still.
Go,
We got Doug,
okay, Doug. So
KBD,
Doug will be the three, KBD, and then Charles.
and then Kem, the
That
Kem
would be
bucket.
that would be six. Oh, you okay. Are you trolling? I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah, yeah,
tell.
yeah. I'm
Okay, I
trolling.
was like, wait, that's six.
And
The
then
Kim.
Kem.
And then Kim. Oh my gosh, man. Okay, actually though, can we talk about the Dom Barlow minutes? Did you see any of that?
I saw very little, to be honest with you. But
Okay.
clearly, you love Don Barlow, so why don't you
I
start this
I
one, Jude?
already do. I just talk. I wanted to see if you got it because I don't want to just come on here and act like he's like the next all star like I do every time. But like he's the point is like the more minutes like you see good things. He's definitely work in progress, but like will is was significantly better than Isaiah Roby.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, it's
in
not hard.
all right, exactly. But like that's the thing. Like would you project to next year? Like he's probably gonna take his roster spot. Um,
I hope so. I hate
solid.
saying that, but I
Yeah,
hope so.
I know. I hate saying it too, but I'm with
Gosh.
you. The point is, can shoot just a spot shooter, not anything crazy, but can if you can run a pick and pop with him, or if you can throw him in the corner and he can make it. Still not every time, but like not terrible either.
Hmm.
You just can't leave him wide open, or he'll make you pay. Attack space, like we've mentioned so many times. His off ball movement is awesome. And super versatile on defense. Still gets big bodied in the post because he's 19, coming out of overtime elite, and hasn't really had all those years of development, and the physical development as well. Like we've seen it with Devin for sure. We remember when all
Yeah.
those photos were going off in the summer. But yeah, I mean that's really the only deficiency I would say right now. But I think just a modern switchable 4-5. So just like to see it. And like I said, he's better than Roby, so it's going to be an upgrade on the roster next year if we bring him back. But another thing we didn't talk about, Ethan, there is a new Spur, a new two-way contract.
Did I miss this or did I see
Yes,
this?
Julian
Oh yeah,
Champagny.
I saw that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but you should go watch his G League highlights. He has like multiple like 30-point games, like 40-point games.
He's
Um,
different, Jude. He's different.
he's not different. But he's a pretty nice pickup. He's literally just gonna be like a way better version of Jordan Hall, except like not as more of just kind of like an off ball player. But
Mm,
he's mainly a shooter, 6'6", 6'7". He's
okay.
20.
Yeah.
He's 21. He's also from Philly again. So
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that.
we're just taking the Delaware Bluecoats like
Another man's trash and
except
another
for Mac
man's
McClung.
Charles Bassey.
Right. Or Julian Champagny.
We
Anyways,
should start calling him Chuck. Chuck Bass.
Chuck Bass.
I like that. Chuck Bass, the big
Uh,
bass.
oh my gosh. Um
Oh,
look at
shoot. Sorry to interrupt, but did I tell you that my buddy David? You met David.
yes, yeah.
He went to an Austin Spurs game with his friends,
Uh-huh.
and he just happened to go to the one where everybody was in San Antonio. So he only got to see Jordan Hall, and he was like, "Oh, I'm so upset."
I thought you were about to say that he went to the Manu one because I saw Manu
I
like
don't.
went there before a game. Damn,
Nope.
he really got the short end of the stick.
He got the Jordan Hall
He
MVP
needs to
game.
go to the ones in April at the Moody Center.
He probably will.
Yeah, Trailblazers and the Timberwolves. I might go to those. We'll see. We'll see. But I also kind of wanted to. We were talking about the rotations, so I'll give you mine. So like I said, backcourt backups. So I'll start with that. Devontae, Malachi, Doug, KBD, Charles. We talked about that. And then the starting lineup. This is of course assuming everybody's back and healthy. Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, Zach Collins.
Yeah, I would echo that verbatim.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there is like, and this might have just been the nature of the fact that we had so many injuries, but like Pop was doing more spot minutes with Dom and with Isaiah, and like they wouldn't even, and there were some other people too. I'm forgetting Blake. That's another one as well. I wonder if we're still going to see more of those. I would assume that we won't. You know, we've kind of talked about this. We alluded to this in the last episode we did. We kind of think they're going to try to do some more competent, like, okay, let's actually try to like play and win here, you know, instead of like this, you know, where we're kind of like, just, oh, we'll throw this guy in for 6 minutes, see how he looks. Even if he's good,
pretty much.
even if he plays good, we're taking him out because we just want these 6 minutes for evals. Do you think we'll see more of that? Like, or do you think it will still see it, but it'll lessen, or do you think it'll go away completely?
I think the only one we will continue to see regularly is Blake. I think the other two will not be getting spot minutes really. I think Blake will kind of split minutes with Devontae. He'll have sporadic minutes, probably 10 or less, just to continue to see if he can improve. I think he'll also have time in Austin, but at some point he does need to come up here. You know, he's a first round pick. He needs to have that
Yeah.
opportunity too. So I think we'll see that from him, but not the other guys.
And we forget about injuries too. That's another
Yeah, that's
thing, of
also a thing,
course,
yeah.
that's always a factor. I feel like he's gonna get some time in Austin again. Like you said, I feel like that's something that we can kind of expect for the post All-Star break Spurs. But I think it's not gonna be consistent. It's gonna be he'll get called up, he'll get back down,
For sure.
get some spot minutes. If there's an injury, you know, he'll come up and play. But another interesting point that Easy brought up there, and I wonder that actually might be something that's legitimate, is maybe we start Malachi at the point guard off the bench, and then we have Romeo as the 2. I feel like we're gonna play Devontae, but the one thing that we talked about, and we know that the Spurs are like this, you know, that they value defense. That's how you get on the court. You know, Romeo is a much better defensive player than Devontae, and he's been in the system longer. He's been around for a little bit longer too. So I don't really feel like we would care if we sat Devontae. So I feel like that would be the only other thing, like the only other option that really I think would be different than what we just named is maybe them doing that. And with the way that Malachi's playmaking has come on, I actually wouldn't like. I would kind of see the logic there.
I wouldn't mind that at all, honestly. Especially because we still got Doug in there. He can space the
Right.
floor. KBD's competent enough. You can't leave him wide open. And then Charles Bassey continue to be a pick and pop threat. Like
Yeah.
we don't really lose much.
And
I guess.
Malachi. Yeah.
Yeah, Malachi.
So, though you just have the ball more in his hands, so that would be
Interesting.
interesting for sure. Yeah, and especially we talked about it on our trade deadline recap when we don't really even have to bring Devontae back next year. I mean, I like Devontae seems cool. I like the energy he's brought. He's giving everybody high fives. He seems like he distributed. I forgot to mention that he also had an 8 assist game. I know the other only has been like he had 0 assists in the 30-point game, or he might have had 3. But the point is he's had like 3 or 4. But he did have a nice 8 assist game. I think that was against the Cavs. So he can still distribute. But I wouldn't be mad at that. That would definitely be the better defensive lineup. And if you want to keep adding to Malachi's bag and his playmaking, that could be I wasn't like I opened it up with I think Romeo's going to be out of a spot here, but that's something I didn't think about. Yeah, because the defense is a big thing for old Pop.
And we're the worst defensive team in the league, so
Yeah, that's another thing too.
we got to change something up.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, just looking at some of the other guys too, Ethan, like projecting like their second half of the year. So Trey Jones was out with an injury. We can start with him. What are you looking for him in the second half or this final stretch of the season? It's really like the last quarter.
More of the same, but I expect his playmaking to get even better as far as statistically, with the return of Devin and Keldon and Jeremy emerging and Malachi as well, because now he has more weapons at his disposal, and he's not the only guy being pressured.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see him back with full talent
Hmm.
and the development from Sohan and Malachi. I'd like to see some Trey Jones Malachi minutes just
Yeah,
staggered a
I
little
would
bit,
too.
just because just to see the dynamic between those two. I think that would be you could definitely take advantage of Malachi's off ball shooting with them playing together. But obviously we want to play him with Devin the most. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really excited, and I think his job should just be easier, ideally.
Depending on
Not
how things pan out with the draft and like, Blake Wesley, that could be our future sixth and seventh man off the bench. To be honest,
like Trey Jones.
Trey Jones and Malachi.
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, just kind of want to go through the roster with you, Ethan, if you're down.
Yeah, so
We can go with Devin starting off next. Obviously, the main thing is just to see him back. But other than that, what are you looking forward to?
a slow return followed by an explosive night where he will continue to average about 21, 22 points per game. I think he's capable of doing that for the rest of the season.
I'm just ready to see him win a couple games for us in the clutch. That's the main.
Ooh.
I just want to see that again, like I saw in Utah. I just already know, like he's a versatile defender. You know, he's got the length to pickpocket lanes. We already know he was that coming in. We know he's a
Hmm.
good shooter. We saw his bag earlier this year. I agree with you. It's going to be a little bit slow coming back in, especially with the emergence of other guys. But I think once he gets back in rhythm, he's going to be what we were seeing this year, and he's just going to continue to improve. I mean, super excited for Devin. We talked about it at nauseum at this point, but he was
Hmm.
looking like the team's best player, before he got injured. Our man Keith Young is in the comments before we go to Keldon, and he says, "What are the chances that Malachi takes the starting role after showing out lately?" Yeah, I'm with Ethan 0. Especially if Devin comes back for sure. The
He
only
always
way
says
is
point guard
okay.
role.
So
I
the
still
point
say
guard role.
0.
Yeah, yeah, I get where you're coming from there. Especially with talking about potentially like Trey being the sixth man of the future. But yeah, I don't think that that's gonna happen. And especially they're gonna want him to play at the 2. But like we were saying, maybe he does take the backup point guard role. If we start Romeo. But yeah, still love to see what we've seen from Malachi, and he's gonna continue to develop. I guess. I mean, yeah, it's just Devin.
Yeah.
If when Devin comes back, the only way he would move back into the starting lineup is another injury. That's what the other thing I was thinking of
Oh,
saying.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But yeah, talking about Keldon, hopefully his job should be a lot easier now. Poor guy.
Yeah, I expect him to become a much more efficient off-ball shooter now that everyone is finally back and he doesn't have to be the primary ball handler every single time he comes up the court. So hopefully that turns around for him.
His decline in the shooting percentage that started off so good this year kind of coincided with Devin's injuries.
A
And
little
that
bit.
wasn't something that the first thing you said was his off ball shooting is going to be more efficient. That was the exact thing I was thinking. I was like, I think his shooting's just, it feels bold with how many shots he's taken this year and how the
Hmm.
percentage has declined. But I just think when you bring Devin back and some other guy and Trey too, like it's just going to open up his spots so much more. He can play off the ball so much easier. There's going to be the impact that Devin will bring to the game plan, and the demand that he will carry offensively, like for the defense, is just going to create open looks for Keldon. So I think his shooting will get better, and also defense. He's taking baby steps, but just continue to get better on defense. That's the other thing for him. And hopefully he won't be having to backpack us every time in the fourth quarter now.
Fingers
I think
crossed.
I feel good about that with Devin being back, but you never know, man. You never know.
Yeah.
Now, Sohan, I'm going to start off with this one, Ethan, because I feel very passionately about this one. I just want to see him get back to what it's going to be tough because, there's going to be less stats to go around just in general because of everybody coming back. But I want to see him getting back to where we saw before the injury. Just playing loose, playing free. And really, there were multiple games where he was setting the tone for the game
Mm-hmm.
in general. And specifically, starting those transition breaks, whether it's from defensive plays, getting boards and pushing the pace. But really, is when he is active on offense and defense, like whether it's even if he's just passing on offense, and he's just, being a disruptor and passing lanes, being annoying, not even getting steals. Like when he's doing that, we play with more pace and we just play better. Like that's the only way I can describe it. His impact. There was a clip we made earlier in the year. We were trying to describe it. We compared it to Draymond, and that's what it is. And I can't. I just want to see more of that because I felt like with all of the injuries that wasn't able to be showcased enough, and also coming back. And when I said all the injuries, I was like talking about his teammates, and then on top of it, he was coming back from an injury as well. So I'd just like to see him get back in rhythm and showcase, the reason that he got put in the Rising Stars game.
Yeah, I would say echo what you said. Continue to be aggressive, but also build chemistry now with Devin and Trey. Now that they're back, because now that he's actually looking for his shot, I think the pick and roll game, the pick and pop game with those two ball handlers is going to be another weapon that we have not seen thus far in the season. So I'm excited to see how that pans out.
When you're talking about that, I was just talking about Keldon's shooting getting better. Think about all the looks Jeremy's going to get on the
Yeah.
3-point line too with all those guys back. So that too, for sure. And then we got Zach Collins, the starter. For me, it's just defense. And sometimes it's just, he gets big bodied and there's nothing he can do. And he's just doing as much as he can without fouling, which is really what you want him to do. But yeah, and I think some of that also, I know it's been forever, but like, I think after this season, he's gonna start to build a little bit more strength back. Like he's gonna be able to do more like muscle building,
Mm-hmm.
and like strengthening, his lower body and his upper body. He's never gonna be, he's always gonna be kind of like a hybrid 5 that can also play the 4,
Yeah.
but in a lot of these situations where he gets big bodied, and when you go through so many of those surgeries, like you have to like go through stuff like this to really get back to like strength and conditioning. So now that like it's gone through a full season and is like at full, at full strength and at full health,
Yeah.
because last year we knew he was still kind of, he wasn't even at 100%. I feel like there's a quote from last year where he was saying that.
Yeah.
But hopefully we could get some more strength there because sometimes it's just like he just gets big bodied by the center he's playing against, even other people driving to the rim. Just sometimes in his interior defense, it sticks out like a sore thumb. I hadn't been seeing that as much this year because it felt like he had improved a lot with that, especially with like not fouling. Like we saw that improve specifically with his contests as the season progressed. But I have another Spurs chat that I'm in, and someone was talking about like they were like his interior defense is awful, and I was kind of like, is it really? And then I started watching more tape, and I was like, yeah, it kind of is actually. So that's my only thing for Zach. Other than that, offensively, he's developed and progressed great. That's the reason why we trust him to be the starting center.
Yeah. Keep asking for the ball. Don't foul. That's all I
Right.
got for Stag.
Right. Off the bench, I guess this will be interesting. We'll have to see here. I guess we can do Devontae and Romeo just in case one of them plays and one of them doesn't, or depending on which one plays. We'll start off with Devontae.
Just improve as a playmaker and do what you do. I mean, for me, it's that simple because he's coming in as the backup point guard,
Right.
and in the past, he's been asked to score a lot. And sure, we'd like that, but that's really what Malachi's doing at this point. So just work on your facilitating.
Yeah.
And then
Distribute.
for Romeo, yeah, sorry, and for Romeo, I
No,
forgot we
you're
were doing
good.
Romeo too. Just try and be a better spot up shooter. Just see if you can make strides in that area.
Yeah. I completely agree on Romeo. That's literally all it is just offensive versatility, adding skills to your bag because we know he's pretty solid on defense already. And then talking about Devontae, take open shots, distribute, keep getting steals.
There we go.
Yeah. Doug, I don't really. I mean, keep shooting.
Yeah, and
Make
that's it.
make shots. Thank you, Doug. Thank you for being here.
A vet.
KBD. I want to see him
Hmm.
continue. You know, the one thing I've really noticed, Ethan, and I should have already known it, considering that I went crazy about his 30-point game against LeBron last year,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
early in the season. Is dude, he just knows how to score around the rim. Like he's so crafty around the rim. Like
Hmm.
he's only gonna get like 12 points or like 8 points, but when he's driving to the rim because of his wingspan, like in his length, like he's able to like go through traffic and like if there's two guys, like I feel confident, and I've seen some times where he's really like just by like holding the ball and like maneuvering it through like three defenders, he can go
Yeah.
get layups. So I love his length, and you know that works. That goes hand in hand on defense as well, getting in the passing lanes, and being versatile, switching from the 4 to the 3. And you know he can even guard some fives too.
Yeah.
So I don't really have too much else to say on KBD. Another thing too is also his. I feel like his shooting's gotten better too.
It has gotten a lot better.
This kind of turned into talking about his development also, but
Yeah,
notice that.
he's under the radar, gotten a lot better since we first got him. Was it 2 years ago now?
Yeah, like
Yeah, he's
even this
under. Yeah.
season, he's
Yeah.
like progressed. Like nothing crazy, but like little baby steps here and there. It's like
Shot looks smoother.
I
There's no hitch anymore. Like,
remember when we signed him to a two-way. Like look at this guy.
yeah, he's out here having meaningful minutes. And for me, it would just be continue to impact winning in whatever way you can. Because from game
Yeah,
to game, it could be something different. He could lock up one game, the next game he becomes a sniper. So just continue to find your way to impact the game in some way.
yeah, yeah. That's why I feel like he's definitely going to have a spot in the rotation, and he's somebody who's consistently played and started throughout the stretch where everybody's been hurt,
Hmm.
and has been a bright spot for sure. Now here's the fun one, Ethan, that we talked about a little bit. We'll dig into again, and that's Charles Bassey.
I just want to see him be aggressive. I know he's coming from the G League, but keep that same mindset. Don't let the NBA and this big scariness that it is deter you from being who you are. He's in his home city. He's being given a huge opportunity, a big contract. Just go play your heart out. That's all you can ask for him.
Yeah, I just want him to play free. You know,
Yeah,
I want him to play, I know he understands the system now, but I don't want that to constrain him to where it's like taking away from the reasons that we just signed him to this 4-year deal and what we saw in the games earlier this season and what we've been seeing in the G League since. I just want him to play free and play hard, like you said, because if he does that, he's going to make an impact. That's for sure.
yes, sir.
Alrighty. Well, the next game that the Spurs play is going to be Thursday, Ethan, against the Mavericks, I believe.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
it's
yes, yes.
7:30 against the Mavericks. Is that one that we're going to be able to do a post game for?
It's Thursday. We should be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
7:30. Yeah. So y'all stay tuned for that for sure. We'll be back.
I forgot my
Gosh, dude.
my league pass is gonna be blacked out for that game because I live in
Oh
Dallas.
my gosh,
I'll have
dude.
to
No,
find another way to
it's
watch it.
okay. No, I'll hook you up.
Yeah, yeah, you're that
I
guy.
now I wish I had league, but well, no, I'd still be blacked out even if I
Yeah,
was
you'd
here.
still be blacked out.
Speaking of that, okay, I'm really glad you said that. Bally's going bankrupt.
Yeah.
That lasted long. Great
We
job,
won.
guys. Yeah. No, what a surprise with that business model.
Power to the
Anyways.
people. Bring
Um,
down the capitalism.
But yeah, talking about Dallas and that game's gonna be rough. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I don't. And also another thing about that one and these next games coming up. I believe I'm not sure. I don't think it's guaranteed that Devin's gonna be back.
I don't think so either. I would
for
rather him
these
not
games.
be.
Yeah, no, me too. Take your time, but it should be like in the next 2 weeks he should be back. But I wouldn't be surprised. I think they were saying it might be next Thursday, like after the Utah trip. I want to say I saw something on that on Twitter. So
Okay.
these next couple games, especially the Dallas one, will be rough. And Utah's good in their right too. And
Yeah.
they'll probably be looking for revenge. And the guy that beat him last time won't be there. So
Charles Bassey show out game. Charles Bassey versus Walker
yes,
Kessler.
yes. Okay, overall, Ethan, before we wrap this up, just previewing the post All-Star break Spurs, we went down everybody in the roster, but if we can synthesize it all together, what are just your keys, what you want to see from the Spurs after the All-Star break?
Let's see what we got. Everyone's coming back from injury. We're going to put it together. Everyone's improved in their own ways. Let's see if we can continue to build that chemistry and see who's actually going to be a piece for the future.
Let's get 20 wins, guys.
There we go.
Let's get
That's
six more wins, baby. That's all we need.
That's what we're looking
You
for.
know, let's get 20 so we don't get embarrassed that bad. And I'm pretty sure that would still be a worst in NBA history, but that's what we need this year. So just get us 6 more wins down the stretch. That'll be more in this span of games than like probably looking at looking at the Spurs. Like with the amount of games we have left, if we get 6 wins, that will be like more wins than we've gotten in less games over like the past like however many. I think y'all get what I'm saying here.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, like we will have our win percentage in that certain amount of games would be higher than it has been over the past couple of months anyways. But yeah, hoping for that, hoping to see Devin showing out, and just hopefully everybody's job's easier, which considering the circumstances, we still shouldn't win many games, but hopefully we can win like 6 or 7 of them.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But if we don't, that just increases the draft odds.
Win
so that's
big.
all that matters. We talked about this before, but I think like really we'll be serious about it now. Like that it's after the All-Star break. We'll put out some videos where we're just breaking down. I mean, it's going to be a lot of the top prospects because that's where the Spurs are at. But we could just do some sit-down videos where we like record it beforehand and post it, just breaking down Wembanyama, Scoot, Thompson twins, whoever.
Sounds good to me.
Alrighty, y'all. Well, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We're going to be back now with the post games this Thursday. And we'll keep you updated with anything else. If we're not doing a post game, all that stuff, you want to stay up to date, follow us on Twitter at SSPN on YT, at Jude McLaren, at Ethan_Quintero. You can watch the show on Twitter as well. And if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate y'all. We'll catch y'all in the next one. And